One moment, he was soaring toward the rim with the same explosive confidence that had defined his rise. And the next, he was sitting on the hardwood, clutching his knee as the arena fell into a stunned silence. The injury did more than end a playoff game. It froze a future that had felt inevitable. He had been the youngest MVP in league history, the symbol of hope for an entire city, and the centerpiece of what many believed would become a dynasty. Overnight, that certainty disappeared. The diagnosis confirmed everyone's fear. And suddenly, the conversation shifted from championships to surgeries and recovery timelines. For the first time in his career, basketball was no longer about attacking defenders or leading highlight reels. It was about facing vulnerability. The spotlight that once celebrated his dominance now magnified his absence. Chicago felt the loss deeply, but no one felt it more than him. The fall forced him to confront a reality he had never experienced before: the possibility that talent and willpower alone might not be enough. Rehabilitation introduced a different kind of grind, one far removed from sold-out arenas and roaring crowds. Early mornings and empty training facilities replaced playoff intensity. Progress was measured not in points scored, but in degrees of flexibility and small increases in strength. The physical pain was demanding, but the mental battle proved even tougher. Doubt lingered quietly. Would he ever trust his knee again? Could he play without hesitation? Critics questioned his pace of recovery, some labeling caution as weakness. Yet healing required patience, something rarely demanded from a superstar in his prime. He had to rebuild confidence the same way his ligament was rebuilt, slowly, deliberately, without shortcuts. Each careful step forward became a personal victory. The process humbled him, reshaped his perspective, and planted the seeds of a new chapter that would be defined not by invincibility, but by resilience. When he finally stepped back onto the court, the applause was loud, but the expectations were even louder. Fans didn't just want him to return. They wanted the same explosive MVP who once dominated the league without fear. Every possession felt like a test. If he attacked the rim, people analyzed whether he had the same lift. If he hesitated, it became a headline. The wave of comparison followed him everywhere. He wasn't only facing defenders. He was facing memories of his former self. The rhythm that once came naturally now required patience. Timing felt slightly different, confidence slightly fragile. There were flashes, quick crossovers, sudden bursts to the basket that reminded everyone of what he had been. But consistency was harder to find. The league had evolved during his absence. New stars had risen, and the margin for error had shrunk. Returning wasn't just about being healthy. It was about adapting to a game and a narrative that had moved forward without him. Then came more setbacks. Another injury, then another interruption. Each one chipped away at the dream that once seemed guaranteed. The vision of a Chicago dynasty slowly faded into uncertainty. Team rosters changed, coaches adjusted strategies, and his role began to shift. No longer was he automatically the centerpiece of everything. For the first time, he had to consider contributing in different ways, facilitating more, pacing himself, accepting limitations he had never known before. The hardest adjustment wasn't physical, it was emotional. Letting go of the identity of unstoppable superstar required humility. Yet within that loss, a new strength began to form. Success was no longer defined by MVP trophies or highlight plays. It became about endurance, about staying in the fight despite the setbacks. In learning to redefine himself, he discovered that resilience could be just as powerful as dominance. As the years passed, he began to understand that rebuilding his life meant reinventing his game. The explosiveness that once defined him could no longer be the only weapon in his arsenal. Instead of relying purely on speed and vertical lift, he developed patience, footwork, and a deeper understanding of timing. He learned how to control pace, how to use angles, how to read defenses with the mind of a veteran rather than the instincts of a fearless prodigy. The transformation wasn't immediate. but it was intentional. Teammates started to see him not just as a former MVP trying to reclaim glory, but as a leader who had endured more than most. He embraced mentoring younger players, sharing lessons drawn from both triumph and heartbreak. Then came the night that reminded the world, and perhaps himself, of the fire that still burned within him. A 50-point performance years after his injuries wasn't just a statistic. It was an emotional release. It was proof that reinvention could still produce brilliance. Over time, his story evolved beyond wins and losses. It became about perspective. The version of him that once chased immortality on the court slowly gave way to someone grounded by experience. He spoke more openly about pressure, expectations, and mental health, offering insight into struggles that many athletes rarely reveal. His legacy began to shift from what he lost to what he overcame. He may not have reclaimed the uninterrupted prime that once seemed destined for championships, but he gained something more enduring: respect. Fans who once measured him by MVP standards now admired his resilience and humility. The fall that once defined him became only one chapter in a much larger narrative. In rebuilding his life after the injury, he proved that greatness is not only about how high you rise, but about how you respond when everything comes crashing down.